Hey everyone, hello, welcome. Today we're going to be discussing functions, chapter 8 of JavaScript. So what is a function? A function is basically a block of code that performs a specific task, right? And you can use that code again to perform that same task. So functions allow us to run the same piece of code from multiple places in a program without having to copy and paste the code repeatedly. So this is a basic, let's move here. This is basically a function, the basic understanding of a function. So you have a function assigned to a variable, welcoming. You have the keyword function and followed by the name of the function, and then the parentheses as well. And then console.log. So then what this function does is basically is welcoming you to JavaScript. That's the task of the function, to welcome you to JavaScript. So that's basically creating a simple function. Then you can also call a function. How that's done when you look at this code is here. Using the name of the function followed by the parentheses is a way to call the function. So in other words, it's to execute the function in itself so that it can execute. So yeah, this is how it will look in the debugger. Then that's how you call a function. So as you can see here, it's followed by the name of the function, followed by the parentheses, and then the function is basically happening now because we call the function. Then you can pass arguments into functions as well. So if you can look at how that's done. So passing arguments into functions. So functions can take parameters to accept input values. So this is how code would look when you pass a function. Well, let me say passing arguments into functions. So you have your keyword function followed by the name of the function, add numbers. Within the parentheses, right, there's parameters A and B, right, over here. So console.log, the sum is A plus B. So it will add the numbers assigned to these, basically. That's what the function is doing. The aim of this function is to add these two, let me say these two properties together. And then here, the function is being called. It's usually called, like we said, by putting the name of the function followed by the parentheses, and within the parentheses the properties, or let me say the arguments. So that's passing arguments into functions. So this is essentially how to look in the debugger, right? So here we have the function add numbers. A and B is in the parentheses. So the numbers assigned to A and B are going to be added together. So in this case here, we have 5 plus 10. Why? Because here it's 5a plus b. And in this case, it's 7 plus 3. So when you look at the debugger, these will be the final results in the console. The sum is 15 and the sum is 20. If you can look at it from here, I'm going to break and then pass over. What happens is when you start here and I step over, so this is basically where it will print that final result over here. Well, it's not showing now, but what happens is when you pass over, it moves on to the next stage. And it moves on to this keyword or the name of the function, add numbers, 7 and 3. But essentially, yeah, that's how functions are, that's how arguments are passed into functions, putting them in the parentheses and using these in this example to add the numbers. And that's the function in itself. Then you can also pass multiple functions, multiple arguments into functions as well. So if you look at how that's done, passing multiple arguments into functions. Here's an example of it. So basically, you can add one more argument within the function in itself, right? So let me use this as an example. Or yeah, I can use this. So the first function, the first argument is how many times, right? So basically the aim of this function is to print multiple values, multiple times. So how many times is the first argument passed into the function, and then what to draw is the second argument passed into the function. So it's usually put in these parentheses. And then a for loop is used to print multiple times, right? And as long as it's less than the amount of times to be printed, that for loop is printed. I mean, it's used to print that value that you need. So, this is the previous one. So let's see how that is shown in the debugger. So I have my breakpoint here, and when I step over, oh gosh, you gotta be kidding me. Stop.